Hello and welcome to OWTV. I'm here with Scraine of Goud Guys ANM. Hope you're doing well. Had a nice few days off.
Yeah, thank you. I've been on a little vacation. I just came back, but it's been good. I had very much fun.
It's your first appearance in OWCS. Sans a few qualifier runs. How is it to be here now?
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised how I got into everything. It was kind of, a bunch of team hopping and some luckiness, I'd say. There was, really a lot of unsure stuff, but I'm really happy with where we're at now. And I think we're very qualified to compete in OWCS.
Well, I don't want to speak too much about the games this weekend, but I do want to just ask you one thing from each of them. So firstly, Gen.G. I spoke to Exodial last week, and he said he really expected a 3-0. I spoke to PNR from Quick earlier today, and he said he expected it to be a 3-2 dogfight. So honestly, which way do you think it should have gone?
Yeah, I mean, we were really, really disappointed with how the game went, actually, because before the game in Scrims and everything, it looked way, way more even, and it probably closer to like 75% our side. And we really weren't expecting to be stomped like that, unfortunately.
And Twisted Minds was actually closer, like considerably.
Yeah.
I think on East Transfer especially, I got a huge amount of recall to the China LAN Nightmare vs Crazy Raccoon on push. Kuffer comes out on ground tank, gets instantly blown up, swaps to a dive tank, and crushes. Crocs comes out on a ground tank, gets instantly blown up, switch to a dive tank, and crushes. And I really thought that you were going to swing that map. And also then, of course, on Flashpoint too.
Yeah, I think everyone was, biting their nails on that. It sounded a lot better for us in VC against Twisted than it did versus Gen.G. I think that had a lot to do with the confidence we had going into the matches. But, in our minds, Twisted wouldn't matter as much to us. Gen.G was a really important game that we unfortunately lost.
We're now at the stage where the maths needs to happen. I have done the maths. It's pretty much a situation of either it's so over or we're so back for you. There's no in between. I need to read my notes for it. But the situation is, assuming all 3-0s, I think maybe 1-3-1 works, but I've done the maths on 3-0s. You need Peps to lose to Vision and VP. Maybe that one's less of a hot take. And then you beat Peps. And because of this sets up a 3-way tie with Gen.G beating you beating Peps, and Peps beating Gen.G. And you would then go through, assuming 3-0s on map differential between the tied teams. But that would allow you to go through without having to beat Qadsiah. So how confident are you in that scenario? And also, does that mean you're rooting for an opponent to win?
I mean, we need our favors in every way to make this qualifiers, but because of our performance. There's not much you can do except praying. We don't want any match fixing or anything. The teams really have to play their best, and if it goes our way, it's a miracle.
Well, I have to say, I was looking at it yesterday, and I think we were all in this space where we thought it was really that game at the weekend, Genji versus you guys, was it. But then I looked at this time and I thought it's kind of like really plausible that Peps lose to like 3rd and 4th place and then you beat them. That doesn't seem so out there that it's preying on a miracle. I think it's doable.
Yeah, it's very doable. Peps should kind of be a rival in our minds because they picked up Sorrow, and then we also had a lot of trials, and then some of their pickups refused us, and so forth. So we want a sweet revenge on
that. You're primarily a damage player, but this stage, your only map we've seen it has been on main support. I think also I seem to remember in FaceIt last stage, you were also filling in at some point for Jonowich, I believe. Is being flexible part of your game that you prize, or is it just a needs must situation?
No, it was really a needs must, but I feel like there's been a lot of moments I've had recently, just this year, where people ask me to play other roles. It started with like the lower tier 3, tier 4 teams asking me to ring, and after just playing a few scrims and like learning to ult track and playing tank fight planning, all that, then I feel like I kind of evolved. So then I just hit the ranked grind on it, and yeah, it's going pretty well for me, I'd say. I think I'm combined like champ 5 around somewhere, so it's not too bad. I think it's kind of good.
And how is it to come in against VP, 2 maps down, 3rd map, off roll?
Yeah, that's not really the appearance I was hoping for, but I feel like I did a great performance especially against VP, because it's one of the teams we're very much expected to lose against. And when I came into there, I feel like it started to look some hope, even though we didn't have proper ult tracking or any comms from my side, really, because I was kind of surprised that I had to play. They were really kind, by the way, to let me play, because the roster was already selected. So yeah, cheers to them for actually playing the match, even though they could have refused it.
So the situation was they submitted the roster with Jonowich, and then his internet died, or he was unavailable.
They tried to loading into the map. The lobby was set up. They were like, feel free to connect, whatever. And then he just leaves the call. I get a bunch of DMs. I was in an Qadsiah warm up, actually. So yeah, I was kind of pulled out of that, but I definitely didn't mind that. I mean, I told them if I had to play, I had to go. So they were aware of it. But yeah, we did some talk, and I think Hu Yang was banned that map. I don't know if it was not banned, but I said I wouldn't play the Wu Yang because I didn't have a single scrim on Wu Yang. So I actually came in. I was like, I'll play Lucio. That'll be my hero. I'll one trick for this map, and we'll see how it goes. Because everyone's played with a Lucio. It's a fast-paced comp, and you can really pull some magic with it if you're really fast-paced.
Yeah. So it was from your side. It was a tracer ban on that map. Not
right. Yeah.
Wu Yang was available.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of players who are at your level, balancing studying or working along with playing, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm working full time. I work from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., which actually usually clashes with a scrim at 4 p.m. So I've let my team know that that's impossible for me to do, unfortunately, unless I gotta call off to do some tournament or something, which of course I would do, because then it would be more worth than a scrim. But I feel like it's balancing pretty well, especially with me being a 6th player, that I can just come in when it's needed and I don't need to stress at work.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask next, actually. You are the 6th man. So is it nice to just have this kind of every now and then you can come in and play an official or 2, or would you maybe in the future be looking to be just on a 5-man roster, or at least in a starting role?
I mean, the dream would just be to be a starter player in OWCS, of course. And I feel like I'm really up on that level, and I feel like competing is fine at that. But I feel like 6th also just fills in. I can sort my life so easy. I can do my hobbies. I can do whatever. And if there's a scrim or a mix that I need to play, and I can come in and solve that for the team with no issue.
And I always feel like this is a good one to ask anyone who's sort of involved. We've been in this new FaceIt OWCS system for nearly 2 years now.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you played in Contenders.
No.
but you were involved in certain things around there. I think you were in one of the World Cup qualifiers at some point.
Yeah.
And how do you think the ecosystem, the open system, compares now compared to the way it did 2 years ago and further back?
I mean, I feel like it's way better for the community as a whole, but you know, there is a downside with how you're gonna manage the money and everything, because there was a lot of income taken out of it. So the players gotta, you know, pull up themselves to really make this dream of theirs come true.
And what about at the top end? Like, if we're following out of Overwatch League in the same period, maybe look past Falcons, Crazy Raccoons, they're just insane. But like, if you look at kind of like T1 or an Qadsiah, how does that kind of line up to sort of, you know, 2023 Boston or Houston? Or
yeah, I feel like it's kind of sad that you miss the nostalgic teams, that you can't see them, you know, perform, especially when they got all the supports from the team skins and all the hype on tournaments and whatever, branding, etc. But I feel like the new upcoming orgs, they really can pull it off quite nicely in here if they get the fundings from skins and everything. And yeah, they can definitely make something work with this.
We briefly touched on it when I was going through the maths, but you have a tricky game versus Qadsiah this week, but you do have the luxury of knowing the result of the Vision Peps game before you play. So will that change anything, or do you just have to prepare for the worst case scenario?
I mean, I don't feel like we do really have a plan except for scouting and making a good play for it. You know, we really need two things to really go in our way. And, you know, if we play the best we've ever played, maybe we take on Qadsiah, and then we wouldn't have to worry as much. But, you know, I feel like it's really going to depend on how we play, how we like mentally play for it. Of course, we're never going to troll and, you know, just put up a lazy show for the people at home. So we're definitely gonna play our best and prepare the best we can. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining me, Scraine. We really appreciate it. Do you have any message to the fans or to your opponents?
Yes, of course. We're super grateful for the fans. I think we really put up a funny roster for us to, you know, really put out the best performance we could in our situation. You know, there's a lot of hype around Crocs, for example. He's a really funny guy, and there's some funny clips in the listenings. And yeah, then we have, you know, a lot of good synergy with some Contenders players that have played together. And yeah, you know, we're familiar people with each other, and we're really trying our best to make us stay in OWCS. And yeah, again, thanks for all the support we got. We really hope we can stay in for as long as possible with this roster. And yeah.
Well, thanks very much again for joining me, Scraine, and best of luck with the rest of the stage.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.